rise for a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
roll call, please.
Mr. Buchanan.
Here.
Mr. Burns. Mr. Petrovich.
Here.
Mr. Borough.
Here.
Mrs. Mutchler.
Here.
Mrs. Connection.
Here.
Mr. Western.
Here.
Mayor Borough.
Here.
I'd like to welcome everybody to the meeting tonight. Is there any members of the media in attendance tonight? All right, the first item on the agenda is to hear the public. We ask that you keep it, state your name and address for the record. We ask you to keep it to 3 to 5 minutes and have it be about borough business only.
Hi, my name's Karen Ott. I live at 1400 Merriman Road. And I have a couple things. I'm not scatterbrained here, but I wanted to thank the road crew for coming around after the storms and fixing things so quickly. But unfortunately, the ones we've had this past week have undone everything they did. And we have a catch basin, but we need some curb around it so the water goes into it instead of rutting my yard and rutting the side of the road. Because it's literally a good foot wide and a foot deep. And if somebody tries to dodge a deer, a car, whatever, it could be really serious for them and their car. Second thing I wanted to talk about for our meeting next on the July, there's some people that are coming with physical impairments, including someone on your council here. Is there special parking arranged for people like that?
Isn't it at the top of the,
Park right
Yeah.
at the very top of the
Top.
session hall,
Okay.
there's a circle and they can park up there.
Yeah, when I've gone for fish fries, it's so packed, you
Yeah.
can't see anything going on, so I
I
was
don't
just
think
wondering.
it's, marked, with a handicap.
Okay,
But you can drop off and exit.
okay. All right, that was my second question. And then my third one, I'm gonna read a letter I've written and I'm gonna submit it for council when I'm done. And it's regarding the upcoming meeting for July 1st. Dear council members, thank you for scheduling the upcoming public forum to hear what the citizens' comments and concerns regarding Penn Energy's proposal to use Amsler Ridge Road for construction, development, and operations of the B50 well pad. We appreciate this important opportunity for the local residents' voices to be heard. The possibility of allowing thousands of heavy trucks to use our local roadways is a decision that needs much thoughtful consideration. We see the July 1st forum as an important part of this process. To that end, I am asking council to adopt speaking requirements for the July 1st forum to ensure that those families who would be directly impacted by the proposed project are heard first. And I would like to see council to set some speaking requirements to include the following. An open microphone format so all in attendance can hear the residents' comments, concerns, and Penn Energy's responses. I feel you have the same right as everyone else, so that people aren't talking over the one microphone, everybody hears everyone. Second, priority speaking slots to be given to the families living along Amsler Ridge Road, Big Sewickley Creek, and the residents of Orchard Estate, as they are the residents that will be impacted and should this project move forward. If there are multiple families living along roadways and in these housing developments that wish to speak, we would ask that council instruct these families to select one spokesperson for each family so as to avoid duplicate of comments and concerns. Sorry, I'm not reading too well tonight. Didn't sleep well. And we ask for the firm assurance from council that citizens' concerns are the primary focus of the evening event, with added assurance that representatives from Penn Energy will not be permitted to filibuster the evening by monopolizing conversation. I think maybe like you do here, everybody gets X amount of minutes for all people, that way, you know, more things can be addressed if that's agreeable with council. I wanna thank you again for your attention to these important issues and for taking time to listen to your residents. And I'm gonna give one to the secretary. Does anyone else want one? I've brought a couple more.
You can give them to Mrs. Dan, she can
Okay,
get them out to us.
all right, thank you.
And back to your, one of your first questions on the repairs
Here
you
or the road?
repairs you needed. Did you,
Yes.
get ahold of the Public Works Department at all on that?
I talked to them when they were
Okay.
there the first time, because like I said, we have a grate to go into the pit, but the angle of it, the water's going right over it and running out my yard, and then it goes down along the
Yeah,
edge
you
of
can
the road.
probably call Ted at the Road Department and maybe see if he can start to look at something there.
Okay,
What is your street address there?
it's Merriman,
Just Merriman?
1400.
1400.
It's right below my house is where it starts.
Across from Much's old gas station. Over on the other end of the road.
Steve White, 475 Amsler Ridge Road. So it definitely sounded like I missed an entertaining council meeting last meeting. Should have stayed. But I first wanted to just thank the council members who had the common sense to try to vote no on allowing Amsler Ridge Road as the access road. It's pretty ludicrous, as I stated many times. Even Reed Powell here at the last meeting was shocked that that would be a route. You know, he obviously had the waste service for many, many years, and even he said it was kind of mind-boggling that Amsler Ridge Road would be used for all this truck traffic. But I wanted to, I looked at the permit a little bit further about this bonding insurance. I don't know if I'm reading it correctly, because it sounds like a joke to me that there's only $100,000 for the road excessive maintenance agreement for a bond. I mean, you can go ahead and monitor the road, but what's $100,000 gonna do? Especially with these kind of rains. And then I saw only, and I mean, and this is the same rider for all of the permits, so the other two sites as well. So I don't know if that means $100,000 for all roads used in the borough, or what?
There's actually addendums that are added that maybe aren't with yours, but I think they're going to be addressed later in the meeting.
Okay. And then the certificate of liability insurance is just like a contractor's insurance liability. Obviously, they're dealing with explosive gas, radioactive waste. You know, to have $2 million is it's kind of a joke.
There's another one that goes with that that's far in excess of that.
Okay. And just to reiterate what Karen said, please have one microphone and allow everybody to hear what everyone's saying. Don't divide everybody. I think it's just right that, rather than duplicating questions and whatnot, it's just to have one microphone. Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to the next part of the meeting. Is there a motion to approve the June 11th council meeting minutes?
I'll make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the minutes? All in
I just-
favor?
Excuse me, yes, I just wanted to commend Ms. Dean on the level of detail she went to on the meeting. She had got them out properly, quickly, and at a great level of detail. I was not here last week as well. When I read it, I felt like I was here, even though I might not want it to be. But no, it was great, because I had a great synopsis of what happened, so thank you very much.
Thank you. All in favor? Opposed? Minutes are passed. Committee reports, personnel committee, we need to get together to talk about the part-time code enforcement officer resumes. We will do that before the next meeting.
Hopefully.
Well, we have a
Because we have-
holiday in this, yeah, maybe we'll,
Well, and then we have the tax.
the tax collector, too, so
We didn't forget, it's just
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah,
things on the table.
it's on the list, we will get to it. Finance?
The only thing, I have, and I don't know if everyone saw it, that, we're usually doing this, the norm, but there is a bill that we need to get paid. The reason being, as, the prior secretary used to take care of this, and here, when they changed and someone else picked up on it, it was in the junk email, they didn't catch it, so this is why we're doing it ahead of usually our paying the bills at the first of the month, first meeting of the month. So I make a motion to pay the bill for, LCA, Lease Corporation of America, for $451.09.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion on the invoice? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
That's all I have.
Public Works, Mr. Burns is not here. Parks and Recreation?
Just a few items. We did have our outdoor movie this past Friday. We saw Paddington 2, and after 9 straight days of measurable rain, we were fortunate enough to have really the first nice day. I didn't know how it was marketed, so I wasn't sure what the turnout would be, but we had about 65 people. So it went very, very well. I think everybody enjoyed it. I wanted to thank the Park and Recreation Committee for putting it together, and especially Dave Hirschberger and Frank Spinelli and their family, because a lot of people couldn't be there to attend. I came late, and the Westrums were out of town, so they had their family come over, and they really made it very, very nice. Also want to thank the Economy Borough Civic Club for helping out. We have 2 more dates coming up, July 18th and August 16th.
What was that, July what?
July 18th and August 16th, they're gonna show The Sandlot and Home Alone. Everybody's welcome, everything's free, there's, you know, the break toys for the kids, there's popcorn, there's snow cones, it's just a nice event. If anybody wants to help, they're more than welcome to volunteer. And the other thing I noticed when I was here, I saw that 4 new benches went in. How long ago did they go in? The park benches?
Just within the last couple of weeks.
They did a really nice job on those too, so I invite everybody to go up and take a look. And I think really the third and last piece of the puzzle that I'd be interested in is getting a pavilion putting up there, and we're looking at that for this year, next year, to start planning for that. Because from what I understand, the park's getting a nice amount of usage.
Oh, it is.
And there's a lot of adults, older people who are sitting in hot sun. So I'd like to have some sort of coverage for them up there in the very near term. I also think it'll be a good source for income for renting out, similar to the one in the back, but I think this one might even be a better area just because of the location and the amenities around it. So, that's it.
I don't know if you saw in the minutes where I talked about the doggy bags and disposal.
Yes.
Mr. Borough mentioned that the Civics Club is gonna buy 3, did you say, Steve? And I think 2 for that park, and then 1 out for, recreation, that's not recreation, it is. Yeah, Meadow.
And I thought I saw you mentioned that there was not an interest in,
Well,
The other park.
they didn't have a problem over there with doggy mess.
again, I don't think that park gets as much usage
No,
as
it's
the
more or
other
less
two.
who's in a cul-de-sac back there, but this one does, get a lot, and they're having problems cutting the grass,
That's good.
so
And
they are.
And another thing we're thinking about, I know it had been surveyed a few years back through the wooded area that we have, is maybe to bring back a park, a fitness trail. Basically to be able to hike back there, put exercise equipment. I think it'd be a nice usage of the land. Again, nothing's set in stone, it's just some ideas we're tossing out there. So, that's it.
Thank you. Ordinance Committee?
I have nothing to report.
Thank you. Public Safety?
Nothing at this time.
Thank you. Property and Buildings?
Still trying to get, prices on them 2 doors,
Okay.
and we'll just go from there. That's it.
Member Brado?
I just have one quick thing, if anybody read their Borough News, just because I think it's a hoot. Because, if you read your
Case today.
Yeah, mine just came today.
mine came the other day.
Oh, you're
So-
the mayor.
Woo, woo, woo. So this has been brought to my attention by a couple people, one of them being a former council person. It's, the question in the back is, question and answer, we believe our mayor over participates in council discussions. And I'm looking at all your faces to see who may have sent this, no.
I know.
During meetings, does the Borough Code address it? The Borough Code does address this in section 1003, however, there is not a prohibition on the mayor's participating in discussions The mayor may attend all regular any and all regular meetings of council, take part in the discussions of council on matters pertaining to borough affairs, subject to any restrictions applicable to members of council contained in the rules of order or bylaws of council here, and it gives a link where you can go. So, whoever knows that past council member, please pass that along to him or her. That's it for me tonight. I know you're shocked.
You're not feeling good today, are you?
It's a dog bite.
All right, Mr. Davenbrook, did I get it right?
That's right.
He's filling in for Mr. Ascar tonight.
So I did speak with Joe with regards to the Walmart assessment appeal. There is no update on that yet. As soon as we have one, we'll advise council when there's movement at the court of common pleas level.
Thank you. Anything else?
That's it.
And we asked Mr. Shoup to attend tonight, so the floor is yours.
Couple of items, I've prepared a letter to send out to the Cooney Hollow Road property owners, primarily members of the Zazik and Heitzenreiter families, and I'm gonna be sharing that with Mr. Ascar for his okay, and once he's, fine with that, I'll get that out. That should go out, hopefully this week. Penn Energy, access, somewhat of an update from 2 weeks ago. First, with a revised report dated June 19th this year, the consultants for Penn Energy, Stahl Schaefer Engineering, did provide a revised report, which addressed primarily the monitoring plan for the stability of Amsel Ridge Road. I forwarded that report on to Joe Boward, Garvin Boward Betco. And by letter dated June 19th, Mr. Boward did respond that he had reviewed the revisions to the geotech plan and was satisfied with the amendments that were made. So, in terms of the geotech part of it, I think that's probably about where we're at. I had some discussions with Penn Energy regarding some other issues, and I did share with Randy, who I think forwarded on to council, some topics that Penn Energy had relative to other items relative to the use of Amsel Ridge Road. I don't know that it's necessarily proper for me to go over that.
Yeah, I
but
think one of you
You
want
have
to.
to.
Okay.
Usually, hi, my name's Casey Bowers. I, Senior Vice President, General Counsel for Penn Energy Resources. As Mr. Shoup indicated, you know, as we, various conversations here at the meetings, listening to residents, other officials, you know, there's been several concerns that have been raised. And, you know, and even in correspondence, we've addressed those, but I thought it'd be useful for the Borough Council's purposes and for Penn Energy's purposes to have, we'll call them special conditions. I would propose as maybe an addendum to the excess maintenance agreement or to the heavy hauling permit, and that's what they, and so I put this together in, you know, in response to the issues raised by council and others. I'd be happy to go through those. You know, so this is in addition to the regular access maintenance agreement that it does require a bond. That road bond is set by statute, and it's $12,500 per mile for a paved road. Now, I'll be the first one to admit that $12,500 doesn't get you far when you're buying asphalt and building walls and whatnot. Also, the excess maintenance agreement also requires us to hold the borough harmless for its operations and in the borough as an additional insured. We carry liability insurance in the tens of millions of dollars. And then, so it's not like the excess, and also the crux of the excess maintenance agreement, regardless of the bond amount, it's Penn Energy is required to fix what it breaks. And if the borough would see that the road isn't deteriorating, and this is a normal situation, and Penn Energy would refuse to fix it, then they could just shut down the road and terminate the agreement. I mean, the excess maintenance agreement as it stands, gives the borough a pretty wide berth to protect the citizens. That said, this is a little bit different in that we are proposing a proactive approach rather than run trucks and wait for things to get broken down and then come back and fix it. We're looking at a proactive approach where we are stabilizing a slide area and also bettering the road itself and straightening, widening, doing the full depth reclamation, and then putting a paving course on that. So anyways, these are the special conditions that we had proposed. One is that we perform the proactive excess maintenance consisting of the road betterment plan and a slide repair as set forth in our construction drawings. And as of when I drew this up, I didn't know when the geotechnical report revised by Stahl Schaefer would be, so I think that was the 19th. But anyways, it is that we build what we proposed in the drawings, and we're not opposed to submitting as-built drawings, or if the borough engineer wants to inspect that as we go along. However, I think it's up to you to whatever would make the council feel comfortable that we're complying with that requirement. Second would be that prior to commencement of construction, we'd provide a performance bond to the benefit of the borough in the amount of $1 million to secure our obligation to construct the excess maintenance noted above. Again, regular road bonds are governed by statute, but what we're proposing between the wall and the road betterment project, it's approaching that $1 million mark, and I can see, God forbid something happen where we're just getting into it, have the road all tore up, and then for whatever reason we couldn't finish. I think the likelihood of something like that happening is very, very low. Nonetheless, the borough would have the funds, be able to draw for that bond to be able to finish the project. And then after construction, we would propose just to then replace that $1 million performance bond with the regular road bond of even though we're not quite a mile. We don't have a mile of roadway proposed that we're going to be using, but we would put up a bond for the statutory bond for a mile. And then the initial bond that we submitted with our application would be returned to us, whether that's when we submit the $1 million bond or whatever, but that's just more of an administrative item. Third item is Jake breaks. So there's been a lot of talk about how to, I live next to a highway. I don't want to listen to unnecessary Jake breaks. I imagine other people wouldn't want to either. So what we'll do is we'll advise drivers to use Jake brakes only in emergency situations. We don't want anybody to crash for failure to use Jake brakes. But hey, if you're not going very fast to begin with, probably wouldn't have to use them. So what we'd propose is a 20-mile-an-hour heavy hauling speed limit on Amsler's Ridge Road, and we'd post signs to that effect in addition to advising the drivers. Fourth item involves a traffic management through the first 700 feet of Amsler Ridge Road that is just north of the Big Swickley Creek intersection. We've studied this. Engineers have studied this and there's really no way to. I think you could sneak 2 trucks past each other in that section of road, but it's a bottleneck. It's about 17.5 feet wide, I think. That's about as wide as it can be. But so what we would propose during we post signs notifying drivers to coordinate trips such that trucks traveling in opposite directions will not simultaneously use that road. And then during any periods of more frequent heavy hauling, we'd post flaggers at each end of that 700-foot section to ensure the safe flow of traffic, and of course to give special priority to first responder vehicles. And that falls into the next item too, as far as we want to manage our operations such that it provides the least interruption or inconvenience to local traffic. So one of the things we'd agree to do would be to minimize heavy hauling operations during that morning rush hour, let people get to work and not have to. And yes, they do have alternatives, but if they want to go through that and that's more convenient for them, they wouldn't have to worry about our heavy hauling activities during the morning rush hour. And then finally, it involves the intersection of Amsler Ridge Road and Big Swickley Creek Road. And this was addressed in prior correspondence too, but as you all know, that is a kind of a wide intersection. So it'd be very difficult for trucks or even regular vehicles, but especially trucks, to come down off the hill on Amsler Ridge Road and make a right on the Big Swickley Creek Road. They'd have to go out in the middle of the road, come back in. Inconvenient, and well, by the way, there's a weight-limited bridge just down the road, so we wouldn't want to go that way. Likewise, we would want trucks coming on Big Swickley Creek Road and making that left onto Amsler's Ridge. So incoming traffic has to travel on Big Swickley Creek Road, turn right, go up the hill, and outgoing traffic likewise comes down the hill, makes a left onto Big Swickley Creek Road. And then we would, just like the speed limit, we would notify drivers of that limitation and also post signs. And then finally, to provide for better visibility there is very limited sight distance there. We would engage PennDOT and the borough to determine the desirability of a temporary traffic signal there. It'd be actuated by a truck entering that intersection, and basically have a temporary traffic light there. I think we would engage the PennDOT and the borough to determine if that's the right solution. And to the extent the signal is deemed necessary by the borough and the placement is approved by PennDOT, that's something that Penn Energy would be caused to be installed and operated at our sole cost and expense. So that is what we propose. I think it adequately addresses the concerns raised by citizens in boroughs in a borough. And it sounds like that we have addressed all the concerns from the borough's geotechnical consultant, and that's why we would ask that the borough council give direction to the manager to grant the permit that's been requested.
I have a question, Mr. Bowers.
Yes.
How do you plan on, let's say you're not allowed to make a left-hand turn coming from
Strictly Creek Road. So let's say the truck's coming that way, can't make a left onto Ansler Ridge. What provisions are that the truck has to continue on, and where's it gonna turn around and come back and go?
It would never go that way to begin with. There's a
So you're
way,
saying there will never be a truck coming the wrong way?
There's probably gonna be.
yeah, one, there's a weight limit, yeah, if they do, they're gonna get cited, for
Who's gonna cite
exceeding the,
them?
well, you have a police department.
So then our police are gonna
Yeah.
sit there and wait to
I don't
see
think
the trucks gonna
they
come?
have to, but, it would be against our direction, and it would be against, because there's a weight-limited bridge just to the, I'm all turned around, if you make a right off Amblers Ridge Road, Big Swiftly
West.
Creek.
That would be
Yeah,
west.
yeah, there's a weight-limited bridge right there, so that wouldn't be desirable for us anyways, so what we do is, in addition to just the, this around Amblers Ridge Road, we have approved routes for our haulers, with written direction and signage, to avoid situations like that.
Okay, and, based on your request to direct the manager to approve, I still have some issues with the geotech report. Although they said they find no geotechnical engineering reason not to recommend approval, predicated on proper implementation of the measures presented in the June 19th revised edition. In two other places, though, I have questions. The next paragraph down states, based solely on the documents provided to our geotech, do not appear to be detrimentally affecting the health, safety, and condition of the public and/or public and private properties beyond the specific construction area or project owner's properties. So that tells me that it does affect the health, safety, and condition of the public and private properties within the construction area. So as duly elected officials, our job is to make sure that the health, safety, and welfare of our residents are protected, and by this, it's not, by this statement, it clearly is not. And then, in the last page, it says, items not clearly shown on the plans / drawings and/or described in the submitted documents cannot be considered in our review. So they didn't consider them, that weren't clear. If such items become clear as the plans and investigatory programs evolve and are finalized, we may recommend that additional / supplemental geotechnical engineering investigation and/or analysis evaluation be undertaken prior to the borough granting approval. This is in the latest geotech report. So based on that, I think it's still a little premature. And also, in addition, the Penn Energy's report or response to question number 3, I understand why they couldn't respond prior to until they were pinned down to respond to it, because it's all based on the monuments that our geotech report, our geotech engineer wants Penn Energy to do, is to put 2 more monuments lower on the wall. And they cannot do that, according to Penn Energy's engineers, until they get landowner approval. So.
For the final placement, yeah, I mean, because I
Well,
think.
excuse me, I'm not finished yet. So, same thing with the monuments that have to be placed have need landowner approval, just like the widening of the road. So the widening of the road, I couldn't find it in the geotech report where it was addressed. So if the widening of the road and the landowner approval for the monuments and the right-of-ways aren't obtained yet, then this plan is not finalized and it's incomplete and insufficient. And it would, yeah, it is, it's not. Do you have, oh, well, maybe
Did
I'm
you
wrong.
listen
Do
to
you
the
have- do you have
first or the second special condition, or the first special condition I proposed?
No condition. The condition is that you get the approval and then come to us with the plan, with the finalized plan. That's the condition. You're giving us conditions. Our condition to you, because of the health, welfare, and safety of the residents, our condition to you is get these approvals, get these right-of-ways, and come to us with a complete plan. Until then, we have a duty to say no, because it's insufficient and incomplete, and you have no legal authority to present plans that you're widening the road and putting monuments on that you have no legal authority to do, and I don't understand that.
If I may, Mrs. Skenetti.
Excuse me, let him respond, please.
being that you're, characterizing whatever's in this letter, and I haven't seen it yet, I appreciate the ability, the opportunity to review it.
Which reference to what?
I'd be the, last letter from your geotechnical consultant.
Yeah, that's that's June 21st?
Yes.
Yes.
It printed like front and back on the second pages.
Okay. Thank you.
Just as a question, do we know who owns that land there? Is it your property?
Part of it,
Okay.
part of it's his, part of it's not.
Okay, so you would have no problem with them putting the monuments there?
No.
Okay.
Yes, we're finalizing those agreements, I'm just, planned activities based on land documents do not appear to determine affect the health, safety, public welfare, and private property on the specific construction areas.
I read it that way.
You didn't read the rest?
No.
I think those
Well-
last paragraphs are
Wait,
sort
go
of
ahead.
boilerplate to
Let me
make them,
respond. Could he
Yeah.
hold
respond?
them harmless. Am I right, sir?
You know, I only had probably about an hour and a half to review this prior to the meeting, so I haven't spoken to Mr. Ascar, but if I were to receive this letter and review it, I would say that the last 2 full paragraphs of this report are boilerplate language and are submitted with every single geotechnical report that they draft in order to alleviate liability on their own for what they don't know.
Right.
That's how I read this.
What are you
So-
reading? Which?
I would characterize
The
that
last
as
two
CYA
paragraphs
language.
are June
The June
21st.
21st?
So I have read it, and it is boilerplate language, it's not anything specific to this geotechnical report that has been generated.
Yeah, they don't want something to happen and us go back to Gavin, Bo, or Becker to say they had a faulty review. So they put that language into.
Everything I can see from this letter is that, you know, the Garvin, Bauer, and Bedco were retained by the borough to address geotechnical issues, and we've addressed their concerns to their satisfaction.
Right, they can only address geotechnical issues, they can't address legal issues. So you're at an impasse here where your plan requires legal authority to do it.
They just gave it.
Pardon me?
They are the property owners, they just gave it.
Well, let's see, then you should be submitting it to the plans when they're finalized. The plans aren't finalized until they're submitted, and they're not the only owners.
I think the
Property
important thing
owners.
to remember is you, council, and our engineer and our manager are ultimately in control of the project. So if something goes down and somebody's calling us and saying, hey, these people are trespassing on my yard and I haven't given them right of way, Randy, our engineer, can shut them down and say, you never gave us this right. It's up to them to have the legal right of way. It's not for us to have the legal right of way.
But you won't,
Man,
Hey,
we
don't speak
will.
out.
We
Excuse
will.
me,
but you won't.
Don't speak out.
excuse me. You're saying then, this council should approve plans that they can't legally do right now, and we're not liable then, if we approve it and say, go ahead, if you get it, you get it, you don't, you don't. So when they build the wall and can't get some of the right-of-ways to widen the road, they're gonna come to us and say, well, look, we spent $440,000 on this wall, you know, you gotta let us go.
I don't think they're gonna do
No,
that.
Well, I think
it's
the
not
one,
what you think what they're gonna do or not gonna do, it's what's required.
first of all,
And
one
the
of the.
permit-
I'm not saying it, the statute
I'm sorry.
says it.
The permit tells them they have to build, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, they have to build it to what we want.
Right, and they're telling us the
No,
conditions.
no, they're not telling us.
He just
They're telling
said,
us that that's their plan, and if they give us final drawings and we don't like them, we'll tell them they have to build something different. The permit's just giving them the ability to
Do it.
start the process.
but they can't start the project without
Yes,
right-of-ways. So you're saying they can start the project without getting the landowners, right away to get on the property?
If they have
That's
a permit,
ridiculous.
if they have the permit, then they have the capability of going to get the right of
The
way.
people
Correct.
whose
Wait,
lands are
wait,
going to be
wait, excuse me, what
affected.
did you say? If they have the permit, they have what?
They have the capability of going to get the right of way,
Yeah, but what if
But they
what if the homeowner's a property owner says, no, but give it to
then they
you?
won't build
Then
the
you
road.
Then they're not gonna go.
You need to have the right of way and the legal authority to do it prior to.
You have to be able to know that you're going to build it before you spend the money to get the right of way. Are you gonna spend money to get a right of way because you wanna build this new and glorious fence on your property, and you're gonna ask your neighbor, I wanna buy that off of you so that I can do that?
But then you can't get
And then you go to a zoning board and they're like, no, you can't build that anyhow.
First
You're not
of all-
gonna do that.
First of all, these are savvy, financiers. You don't go into a, right-of-way contract and give them money before this is all done. It could be contingent on the permit being approved and the plans going forward and finalized and approved. You don't pay them and
But
say,
it still
"No,
takes
no."
somebody time and energy, even though I'm sure they probably have boilerplate. The bottom line is, the people whose property they need are people who want the project.
Well, then there should be no problem for them to come back with us. What's the problem then?
Then there's no problem. Once they get the permit, then they can go ahead and get the right of ways.
I disagree. Once they get the right of ways, then come with the finalized plans. They're both complete and sufficient then.
This sounds a little bit like chicken and the
It
egg.
is.
Can we get a
Okay.
solicitor
I
interpretation
think it's
here?
cart before the horse.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's how I look at this.
Well,
I don't
no.
believe that they're gonna put themselves in a situation where they're not gonna be able to get these right of ways, okay? And
Well,
they're
you might
gonna-
not believe that, but I wanna see it.
Well, I don't know that we even have a need for that. And then,
Well, all due respect, really, all due respect to you, I would rather hear this from, in fact, we did hear it from our solicitor in the last few meetings. I specifically asked him, if they don't have the right of ways, can they do the project? He said no.
and I reviewed the
So,
minutes, and I didn't see.
And
that.
I didn't
Pardon
see
me?
it.
I reviewed the minutes, I didn't see that specific
didn't
comment.
see it.
Well,
And if they don't get the right of ways, then they won't build the project
And the
either.
project is dead in the water, so I don't know where the concern is.
This
So-
permit doesn't give them carte blanche to do whatever they want.
the permit gives them to start the project.
No,
It doesn't give them the right to trespass
That's
on
right.
private owner's property. That's not what
Correct.
this hauling permit will prevent. It's just, it's not possible.
Okay, so according to their plans, they can't do the project because of certain spots in the roadway that need to be widened.
If this permit gets approved, they could not go start this project tomorrow.
Well, according to them, I guess they could, because on here it says, where's it at, about the juncture, oh, the geotech report. It must be on there. Wherever I saw it, and I don't know where it is right now, it speaks about them being able to do things at certain junctures of the project, which tells me then that they can start without having those right-of-ways in place.
I'm here to tell you and tell the council that we're not going to trespass on another's.
Oh, no doubt, I don't
All
doubt
right.
that. What you're
And
gonna
we
say is you're
proposed
gonna
this-
build the wall and say, we couldn't get the approval, this is as good as we could do it. Or this is gonna be the road because we couldn't get the landowner approval to widen it,
And
but
then
we're
we have
here
the ability
already.
to shut it down.
That is why we proposed, and this isn't something that came down, this is a conditional that will be placed upon Penn Energy. This will be above and beyond what any normal excess maintenance agreement would carry with it. And that's what, you know, we heard your concerns last meeting, and that's why we proposed the special condition that we construct the wall and the road betterment project as set forth in the drawings, as a condition for us to use the road. And we can't construct the wall and do the road betterment project as set forth in the drawings without getting the proper right of ways to do so.
Exactly.
Yeah,
So
and
until
it's a-
that's done, then you come back. And it wouldn't be fair anyways to the residents. We have a July 1st meeting, which everybody can voice their opinion. To ask us to vote on the permit tonight
we're not asking
Wait.
for a vote. We maintain the position that this, by borough ordinance, that
Doesn't require.
it doesn't require a council vote.
Well, still, whatever you requested for us to direct the manager to approve it. And I said, that's unfair with this July 1st meeting coming
Well,
up.
may I speak?
Now, we gave you 2 weeks opportunity to come back with your response to our geotech report. Give the residents the courtesy and the respect to have their meeting also.
Wait, may I speak? Because
Sure, I'm done.
that July 1st meeting, if you read how the admin was in the paper, has nothing to do with the road. It is for the well pad. There's no discussion about the road, the ordinance, it is the well pad and the operations.
That's not true.
Yes, it is.
That's not
I have
true.
I have it here on my notes.
That's not true. Penn Energy just sent a letter
And
to
then-
all, Penn Energy just sent a letter.
Excuse me, was I?
Yeah, I thought you were finished.
No, I wasn't done.
Oh, okay.
Because we're
Apologize.
never gonna sit here and agree with how you determine this, the permit should be issued. I basically said from day one that in the history of the borough, we have never voted on a overweight vehicle permit. You're forcing us now that we came to vote for one now, because you're always saying, well, this is different circumstances. To me, it's not. I read the permit, whether it has a name on it or not, I read the same permit. So you're forcing us, and you want to make a motion to authorize the permit for Amsler Ridge Road for Penn Energy. I will make the motion that we give directive to the borough manager to authorize the permit.
Wait, let me clarify. Who are you saying you're forcing? Who's forcing? Who's you?
You're sitting here saying that
Who's
we, you as the council whole, we're on here, they keep on asking us to make a decision to vote on this permit, on this road. We have never voted on this type of permit before.
We
So,
went through this a couple meetings
okay,
ago.
okay.
And just because something like that occurred for overweight for a couple of days is not the same thing, and under the municipal planning code, it's more than just
I'm
talking about a permit. It's what our responsibility is. Is for the,
True, and I read the law, and I've read the law, and I've read all the information. And
Okay.
like I said, and I just now, I have a motion on the floor to authorize the borough manager
No,
to.
you don't.
Yes, you just made it.
Wait a minute. All right, excuse me. I wasn't finished talking then. We were still discussing, first of all.
Okay.
Penn Energy sent, did you not send a letter out to all the residents involved, saying what the discussion on July 1st was, and Penn Energy, or the Amsler Ridge Road was part of that?
No.
Yeah?
Yes, you did.
As
I
far as
saw
our
the
letter
Did you
goes,
see what it was advertised in the paper?
yeah, I mean, as far as what our letter is, I'm not sure what the advertisement states, but, you know, that was our understanding,
Listen
that
to them.
this all would be discussed. I don't know what the
Okay,
advertisement states.
okay. Whether you sent
Yeah.
that letter out, let's tell you, we paid for the meeting.
Yeah, it's your meeting.
It's our meeting, so it was how it was put in the paper to advertise.
And the residents have a right to speak.
Well, I didn't say
Well,
they
you
didn't
can't-
have
you
a right,
can't-
they didn't have a right to
You
speak.
can't limit them and say you can't talk about Amsler Ridge Road.
It's not here to sit here the discussion, it was how the meeting was advertised, Pat. So you can
And I'm
have a
telling
free
you
for all.
that Penn Energy's even saying that we're gonna discuss the road, and you're saying we're not.
Where did you get the letter? Cause I didn't see the letter, who'd you send it to, guys?
They
Then
sent
you
it
can
to all
pay
the
for the meeting.
residents.
They sent it to
Amy
the
sent
people
it.
in that, like a certain circumference. They sent
Would
it.
that have been the meeting that you
None
would
of
have
us
had,
in
excuse,
Orchard
Could you,
Estates.
ma'am, please.
would that have been a letter that had to go out based on our ordinance, that you have to reach out with a radius of people? Because
No,
this meeting was ours
this
and
was
we
a letter to our
advertised.
lessors.
Pardon me?
This was our letter to our lessors in the area.
That's based on our ordinance and the requirement that says that you have to reach out with a radius of, I don't know how many
Yeah,
thousand of people.
our letter was limited to our lessors, so there's probably people in that radius that are, you know, are welcome to participate in the meeting.
Right, but
that
that's not the
wouldn't
same
be-
meeting
We
as-
wouldn't send a specific letter to, and I agree, it's not, our letter does not govern the subject matter of the meeting, it's the borough's meeting.
It was, yes.
and-
But you
and
certainly
we'll
did.
defer to the borough.
Did you not have in the letter that they could discuss Amsler Ridge Road? And even if you didn't, whatever it says, it's part of the project, that's part of the project.
But it's
You can't
to
say you can't
it's
talk
to
about the
discuss
road.
it, not to approve or
Yeah,
disapprove or
it's
grant
an
or not
informative,
grant.
yeah, we're not, you know,
It's an informational session.
Right.
It has no, we want to hear concerns, we want to know what people are thinking. Because again, ultimately, council, our engineer and our manager has the right to go and review that project on any given day And Shoup, I don't mean to just call you Shoup, but Mr. Shoup can come back to us and say, hey, something hinky's going on, maybe we should have a cease and desist. And it's as simple as that.
May I speak, please?
This is a not hear the public
No.
portion.
Pardon?
It's a not hear the public portion.
He spoke.
He invited him.
I invite you to speak then.
No, it's not
I
your
Well, get up and speak then.
Excuse me, please. We have
No,
our,
it isn't to hear the public. He had to talk.
We addressed him
For Mr.
because it's
Shoup, Mr. Shoup didn't feel comfortable talking about all the special conditions, that's why Mr. Bauer spoke about. This isn't a hear the public part of it. The hear the public was the second thing on the agenda, and that's over now.
pardon?
The hear the public session's over now. That was the first part of the meeting.
It's regarding what he was talking
And,
about.
the hear the public session is over.
Okay.
Do I not have a motion on the floor?
Is there a second to the motion? I'll second the motion.
I don't remember what it was.
Second
The
was
grant permit for Hansel Ridge.
Oh, my God. To tell Randy to
Tell Randy to sign it.
sign it.
Again, I would like to say in the discussion portion, no disrespect to you, I would like our solicitor to be here
Yes,
for this direction.
Yes.
absolutely.
There's a motion, there's a second.
Well,
Sure, but I can relay it to Mr. Ascar, but
he put him in his shoes, he told him to be here.
That's because Mr. Fekovich asked if we were gonna have legal representation.
Well, I'm sure he's involved in it because he did give us a reading on our gas ordinance, if you remember reading that.
I didn't hear what you said.
He did, he was involved in it because he gave us a, how do I wanna say?
Overview.
Overview of our gas ordinance, if you remember that.
That has nothing to do with this.
No, but that's what he's involved.
He's
I've been involved in this.
He's been involved.
What I'm saying
in
is,
project.
I don't think, I have not had any discussions with Mr. Ascar that leads me to believe that we are in a position that the council should be denying this permit based on individual landowners' potential trespasses. This permit is a hauling permit for overweight vehicles. It is not a permit to trespass upon private landowners' properties whatsoever. I would advise the council that that is not what you're approving through the borough manager to sign. It is not an approval for Penn Energy to trespass without proper authority. That's for them to do and them to do alone. It's not for us to police it until the time someone comes to us and says they're trespassing on my road, or, on my property, trying to widen this road, they don't have permission, then we shut it down. Then we can advise the
But do you
council.
understand, their plan says they're gonna widen the road.
Where are they getting weighted?
So until they can do that, we can't just say, go ahead and start your project, because if they don't get it,
This is not an approval to start a project that is going to trespass upon a person's land without prior approval.
okay,
It's a permit.
it's a permit for a plan that shows that the road is going to be widened. And there is nothing in the plan showing that they have the legal authority to do it.
Exactly.
Give a motion in a second.
So we're approving a plan that they have the legal authority that they're showing us that they're going to do.
Mr. Cumbo, can you please do a roll call vote?
Mr. Buchanan,
It's adopted.
how's the
If,
answer gonna
if you
be?
if you vote yes, you're authorizing Mr. Cumbo to sign the heavy haul permit. If you vote
Yes.
Mr. Burns isn't here. Mr. Fekovich.
Yes.
Mr. Morone.
Yeah.
Mrs. Mutchler.
Yes,
Mrs. Konechny.
No.
Mr. Westrom.
Yes.
Five yes, one no.
All right, on to old business. The fire hydrant payment, I thought we voted to pay that a couple meetings ago.
You voted to pay it, but not the interest
Okay,
that they wanted.
have they had any word about that?
I'll have to check for that. It was just left on there from the last.
Okay. Thank you. Feral cat.
Okay, we talked about this feral cat ordinance last meeting. Well, I made a motion to approve it, and I didn't get a second on it. I don't know if everyone basically got to really read the ordinance on what it amounts to. I know there was a problem at the end when it says about the violations and penalties, but based on that, when you read it, it's based on the Pennsylvania Rules of Criminal Procedures. We just didn't pick it out anywhere to fine people, or what have you. Were issues I've had, in fact, did you call Randy today about a gentleman about the cats? Because I got the text last night. He's now dealing with, well, I know I got pictures of 3 feral cats and probably 6 to 8 kittens.
No, he didn't call me today.
As I explained before, we have nothing on our books to address these issues. And you have people that are kind-hearted to feed these cats. Well, a cat can have babies 3 times a year. So it just gets out of control. If they find the need that, you know what, we're moving, it's getting too expensive, I can't feed the cats. These cats are running a large, I mean,
Here's my concern.
they can't be vicious too.
With not being able to do something with them is, I have 2 citizens in Sunset Hills that are having problems with them. The one gentleman said he's either gonna leave out rat bait or antifreeze. And I'm like, oh, good God, what if a kid sees that blue antifreeze and thinks it's Kool-Aid or something? I'm like, please don't do that. And another one is like, I'm gonna trap him and shoot him with my .22. I'm like, no, please
No,
do
and
not
if someone
shoot
sees
the
him, he'll end
cats.
up going to jail. You can't do that, and like I
Right.
said, it's doing more harm than you think of feeding these cats and
That's
running a large. I says, if they get the diseases, I mean, that's not humane. I
Right.
says what they do. I says, whether we can get them, the police come, will tell them, if you wanna keep these cats, you gotta keep them on your property. They can't be running a large. And then you spay, you neuter them, you take care of them. You are now in charge of these cats.
Care, custody, and control of the cat.
Right, and if
Absolutely.
not, we have the animal control now has a way, because we never addressed them, because we didn't have a problem. But now, you know, they can't address them, they can't, get them, take them, whether they're going to have them adopted out, but right now, they're just running a large. And I said, it's more and more and more, and whether you move, those cats they stay right around the vicinity where they are. So, and we worked several months on this. We had the consultant, Mike Lynchak from Michael Baker. I know, unless he left, Jim Blooming down in the back, the chairman down there, that it's been several months that we worked on this to get something in place so that we can take care of it.
And this motion will be just to advertise it. There'll be a public hearing after the
Correct.
advertisement.
Correct.
If people wanna
Voice
voice their concerns.
voice their opinion, but, you know, we found out that he died on the floor. I mean, I got a couple calls and everybody, how's it coming? I'm like, I don't know if everyone understood and that. And I know it's a little harsh if they think that, oh, I'm gonna be fined and in jail, or basically, I've never known anybody that has. It goes to the magistrate, you get a fine, and you're gonna get a warning. Just to take care of the cats, quit letting, just like a dog. Just quit letting them run large in everyone's property. If you want to feed the cats, that are now your cats. So I'm gonna put it back out there, a motion that we advertise the ordinance for the nuisance.
I'll second it.
Well, okay, discussion, I wanna reiterate that I believe that's an unconstitutional ordinance, and it is, and you can be caged, we can cage our residents now because they let their cat go into the neighbor's property, domesticated or undomesticated, and, deprive them of their wealth via the fines without due process. The other ordinances, like I tried to explain to you, imprison you for your failure to pay the fine. This just imprisons you for allowing your cat to go into your neighbor's property. And the way the ordinance reads is, if you allow your cat, domesticated or feral cat, that you don't even have control of or supervision, which the ordinance requires, goes into the neighbor's property, you could be fined and or imprisoned. Not for failure to pay the fine, but fined and imprisoned for your cat going into your neighbor's yard. And as I said in the email, if your cat, a domesticated or a feral cat, goes into your neighbor's property and then comes back to your property, both property owners under that ordinance can be fined and imprisoned the way the ordinance reads. And then my question is, what property owner then, if you are gonna imprison them, what property owner do you imprison? The mother or the father? They're both property owners. It's a ridiculous ordinance. It needs a lot of work on it, and I don't think that we should require our residents to put a leash on their domesticated cat.
Why not?
Well, I'm sure that if you took a survey of the residents who want to put a leash on their domesticated cat to go, it wouldn't be favorable.
If your neighbor doesn't mind your cat walking in his yard and going whatever, that's fine and dandy. But if I don't want your domesticated cat in my yard, I have no recourse to come back and tell you, keep your cat on your own property. I mean, that's not fair, and I do not agree with you on it's a fine or imprisonment. So it's.
That's what it says.
Yeah, so hey.
Fine
He
and,
had
or.
no, or, it doesn't say and, it says or.
No.
So this is standard verbiage. I've talked to the police chief up there, he agreed on it. We have the consultant we've worked on this, so I basically, like I said, I'm in agreement.
Well, for the record, I wish you guys would have worked 5 months on the oil and gas ordinances rather than this feral cat ordinance. However, that nonetheless, I think there's a lot of problems with that ordinance, and I for one am against it. It's my opinion. Council can do what they want, the majority.
It's just gonna be a motion to advertise. And you second?
Mr. Moran, you seconded, correct?
Yeah.
Any further discussion? Do we need a roll call vote?
Yes.
Roll call vote, Mr. Kunkel, please.
Mr. Buchanan,
Yes to advertise.
Mr. Fekovich,
Yes.
Mr. Morone,
Yeah.
Mrs. Musher,
Yes.
Mrs. Connection,
No.
Mr. Western,
Yes,
5 yes, 1 no.
thank you. Motion advertised passes.
I'd like my objections, for the record, put into the minutes, please.
New business, COG salt contract, Detroit Salt, considerably cheaper than what it was last year.
Yeah, last year it was over $109, and this year you can see that it's $84.25.
Do we need a motion to accept this?
Yes.
Make that motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion on the motion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? If I can add one thing for new business, if you could add to the meeting, next meeting, Mr. Kunkel, the tax collector
Did every-
situation.
Do we have other, applications or letters of interest?
There's a total of 3.
Okay. Marty is leaving
Okay,
us.
for
Yeah.
I'll remind the council that there is the 30-day period to
Yeah.
appoint, so,
Yeah, that would be, we're like 2 days ahead.
so it'll be 2 days in advance of that by the next
And
meeting.
school taxes are coming down too, so
Yeah.
that's,
Yeah, we need to do something.
yeah.
I don't know, Randy, did you go down there and talk to Dottie?
I stopped down today, Dottie was not feeling well, so I did talk to him. In general terms, you know, how we can proceed once we get an interim appointed, how we'll get the records from her. I did ask about the school district, and he was not sure exactly what their position was. I did speak once last week with their business manager, who, when we were finished talking, told me he was gonna get with his solicitor, and I told him that if his solicitor needs to talk to our solicitor, I can help arrange that if need be. The school district is concerned because normally their taxes are sent out July 1st. It sounds to me like it's gonna be delayed until we get an interim collector appointed.
I know he mentioned something about possibly the school district getting like a post office box for the taxes to go to, because you really didn't have anybody on hand taking them. I don't know, it was
They would
just a
have
quick
to be
conversation when I ran into him yesterday.
He mentioned that to me as well. However, right now, there wouldn't be a name attached to.
Right.
It would just have an address. We're gonna obviously have to give some thought to this pretty quickly as to how we're gonna do it. Do we want the person here? Do we temporarily make space in one of the offices?
I actually was concerned about that, because I think those are also issues we need to talk about before the election, so that who's ever running for office for the tax collector in the special election. So I reached out to a company called Williams Scotsman. They do the mobile office trailers, and I asked them for a bid on a 20 by 8 mobile office. They can either do OSHA approved aluminum steps or a ramp. I thought the ramp was better for ADA compliance. It would be, for a 24-month rental, it's $8,617, which I actually didn't think was too bad for 24 months. I'm sure there's a desk, an extra desk or a table or some filing cabinets we could find in the meantime. So I thought that was a pretty good, if you got it with you can get it with table, chairs, desks. Oh, I'm sorry, that was the price with the tables, chairs, and desks and everything. I'll forward this to you. It looks like 24 months without all that, with the tables, chairs, and desk, but also not the ramps, so forget that, that doesn't have the ramp. It's like $2,800 for 24 months, but then we would need to add the ramp, which is, I'm sorry, I wasn't really prepared to do this right now.
Sorry.
The
We
ramp
did so
is
good during the mayor's report too.
$65 a month, so you'd have to add that for however many months we need it.
We have no space in any of the buildings?
I don't know.
It's a lot of money to just burn out the door.
And it would have
Well,
to
We
be
don't have it on a
handicap
permanent basis
approved.
right now. I mean, we could make do,
Oh, that's temporary, yeah.
but we really just don't have the space. We would have to make longer range plans. This building was designed to be built outward.
That'd be your job, properties and building.
I actually think
And
it's,
Northern Light has some office space from what I understand.
Lot of
maybe they could
bring
That's-
this
Does so if we vote on a new person in the next meeting to take over to the end of the year, does that person need to be sworn in?
yes.
So, and that probably has to happen before the 30 days?
No,
Okay.
They have heat.
Yes.
that I don't know. I don't know if we're gonna have to be on the third.
Electric.
AC.
You'd be
Yes.
the magistrate,
Okay,
right?
good.
magistrate has
Local
to sign.
magistrate.
What
So
were you
we
thinking?
might have to have him here for the next meeting.
Are there
Yeah,
any
over there.
preliminary qualifications for somebody to
Huh?
take that
It's real wet.
position?
Nope, is
No,
it?
none whatsoever.
Runs like a river.
Yes,
So do you
resident.
have-
Other than it being a resident of the borough over the age of 18.
And there have to be bondable,
Yeah.
but that's after.
That's it? Okay.
So we might wanna have to talk to the magistrate about being here sometime
Or having that take place
Yeah.
the following day.
the next year, because we don't have to be here for that.
No.
extended.
No.
Okay, so.
I just.
What is the date
You
of the
wanna reach out to
30-day
the magistrate and tell him that we might need him?
Why?
That
Didn't, was the exception, did you accept the resignation at the
I don't
11th
have a date.
meeting?
Yeah,
I
when's our
think we've
next
already,
council?
yes.
I believe the minutes reflected, you
Yes.
accepted the resignation at that meeting.
Mhm.
That's the date. of
Yeah,
her
we
letter.
did.
Yes.
We accepted it.
That's
It's
dated in
the
her
ninth.
letter as well, to her resignation. She's working.
We can look into all that, if
Yes.
they have to be sworn in, if you can check if they have to be sworn in before
Yeah.
the 30 days, and then we can check on.
Isn't the mayor able to swear in though? I'm pretty sure the mayor has the capability of doing
I can
that.
marry people. I know that.
But-
She wants to get married.
I think she could do the oath, I'm really, I don't know, but
I mean,
I'm
we can
pretty
check
sure.
on all that for next meeting, so we're prepared to, hopefully we have a good candidate, we can vote and then get that taken care of quickly.
What was the effective date of the resignation?
Well, her letter was June 11th, but the effective date was June 30th. So
So it's-
Thirtieth
the,
or 28th?
effective end of this month, my office will remain open, because the 30th is a Sunday, so it is the 28th is the last working day. So does the 30-day go from the 11th when we accepted it?
Yep,
Yeah,
I don't like that, but yes, when we accepted it.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're good at that next meeting.
Inefficient.
shouldn't open up the envelope.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry, that was my fault.
If there's any additional time that we can find as far as, language
Yeah,
about whether it's an
extension.
effective date or a date of
yeah, it might
acceptance
need
of
a
the resignation,
clarification on
we'll
that.
make that distinction and have.
It would give us a little bit of leeway.
A little bit of wiggle room.
If that's the case, we'll let
Yeah,
council know
that's
that in
the-
advance.
We have a problem having forms down here. Because that is the 9th.
Yeah, we'll make sure we have quorum at that time. Great, is there a motion to adjourn the meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Oh, before we adjourn, I do wanna say, under old business, I wanted to say one more thing about the CAT ordinance for the record, that the people will be aware when it's advertised, that it also requires, or it allows, borough resources to be used, for this ordinance. That's all I'm saying.
And one last thing for me, I just wanted to thank Mr. Shute for the time and effort he's put in. I know he's only supposed to be here once a month, but you've been putting a lot of extra hours and helping us out. So I'm sure for council, but I personally just want to thank you publicly.
Thank you, you don't have to put it in your bill.
And thanks for coming on such late notice today.
Yeah. It'd make it a free day.
Great, so did someone make the motion to adjourn the meeting?
I did.
Right.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Any discussion? All in favor?